The 2026 FIFA World Cup Group E, Curaçao 0, Ivory Coast 2. In their final match of this first round, a historic victory at the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia secures the Elephants' first ever berth in the knockout stages of the World Cup. 20 years on from their first ever World Cup qualification, that ever so elusive knockout stage berth, the curse that it felt like for the Ivory Coast, it is finally over. Ivory Coast are into the knockout rounds for the first time in their history. Well done to the Elephants. So let's talk about the first half. The opener, Ivory Coast wasted no time putting pressure on the Caribbean underdogs here. Following a lapse in concentration in the Curaçao back line, Yan Diomande, he dispossesses the defense quite easily and squares a pass to Nicolas Pepe. And Pepe calmly side-foots the ball into the net to make it 1-0. Ivory Coast off to a flying start. Will they go on to crush Curaçao here? No, they would not. Because despite that, Curaçao actually pushed. They showed grit. They continued to battle back to seek an equalizer. Tahith Chong and Leandro Bacuna, they registered dangerous attempts, but Ivorian goalkeeper Yahya Fofana stayed sharp. A very decent opportunity for Curaçao to equalize here. I was flipping back and forth between this and the Ecuador-Germany game, and I saw that Leandro Bacuna, his shot went just wide of the left-hand post. Missed opportunities, though, here for Ivory Coast as well to extend their lead in the first 45 because attacker Amad Diallo, he narrowly misses and later being denied a crucial goal-saving block by the Curaçaoan defense. Ivory Coast with the opportunity to put this game to bed early. And for most of this game, Curaçao actually did enough to keep themselves alive and in contention. I mean, they were mathematically still alive heading into this game. They did generate chances, and it would have been quite something if they were able to find a goal here today. Can you imagine if Curaçao had gotten another result today, like a draw or a win? It would have been earth-shattering, even more earth-shattering than the result they picked up against Ecuador last week. But going into the second half, you had the clincher. Any hopes of a Curaçaoan comeback were extinguished when Pepe, he netted his second of the night, getting a brace in this game. Combining nicely with Ibrahim Sangare, Pepe cut inside and he rifles a beautiful left-footed strike into the top corner. And from then on, the Ivory Coast did start to take their foot off the gas a little bit here. I thought this would be a 3-0 victory for the Ivory Coast, but Curaçao, they played with their heads high. They threatened during moments. They looked very competent. And I hope Dick Advocat stays at the helm. I hope he's not leaving after this World Cup. It would be sad. I want to know where this Curaçao experiment will go post-World Cup 2026, because it's a beautiful story. I'm glad we got to see them for 3 games at this tournament. I'm glad they got a goal and a historic point. But for the post-match outlook, Curaçao, the smallest nation to ever compete at a men's World Cup, they're eliminated. Ivory Coast finished with 6 points in this group, behind Germany, who finishes ahead of them on head-to-head. And Côte d'Ivoire will be playing against the second-place team from Group I, which is going to be either France or Norway. That will be a cracking game. I think it's going to be Norway. That'll be an amazing Nicolas Pepe, Franck Kessié, Amad Diallo, Diomande going up against Sorloth, Haaland, Odegaard. Are you kidding me? That's Dark Horse's dream. That is a Dark Horse's dream. Give me Ivory Coast versus Norway, because I cannot call that game. I cannot call that game. And if we get France, they played a friendly with each other just a week before this World Cup, and Ivory Coast beat France. So I'm just saying there's a chance here for a run from the Elephants. They could stomp their way to the latter stages of this competition. But, this was an obligatory 3 points to close out the group with. And for Curaçao, Have a safe trip home. You guys were lovely to watch. Thank you for coming to North America and earning the respect and the admiration of new fans all around the world. Eloy Room is a beast. The Bacuna brothers are awesome. And Comenencia, he scored your country's first ever goal. That's going to stay with him for the rest of his life. He will never, ever, ever forget it. So, on to the next one.